Don't mind us laughing. We were just roasting each other, but we'll be.
I'm cute. Sorry, I'm back.
I'm glad you think that. But we had a cute map of split transition, I guess.
Maybe it was cute if you're on the side of MORI at that point, because they looked really good on that map.
And their first map win of Challengers, that's gotta mean something, okay? We don't care about substitutions. We care about MORI. This is the beginning of something special. We don't know if it's gonna close out the series, but a 13-5 says a lot, Ash.
It does. And I think that you also have to consider probably some of the confidence that they were able to bring off of those matches up against Ambrosia last week as well. You know, being able to take several rounds up against them, those 13-8s, even though they were losses, I think made them feel a little bit more confident knowing they were going but in such a close matchup against someone who's seen as that better team and carrying that kind of confidence forward into today's game. I think that it was honestly, the macro is pretty interesting coming out from MORI, but those firefights coming out from them, it felt like they had just such heavy hitters today in the server.
That's exactly what the game plan was, going on their retake style too when they're playing these fights. I think the reason why they brought out this Clove again to support the Yoru, because if you're playing double initiator at that point, there's always going to be 2 players behind enemy lines. Your Sentinel's still going to have to rotate across, so you need a little bit of an extra punch when you're actually going into these sites. So around the double initiator and having both the Clove smoke through and fight with the Yoru, excuse me, brought a lot of aggression for MORI, which helped out on the retakes.
Aggression for your lungs too, damn. But
no, man.
Oh God, he's still going. Okay, well, we'll administer CPR in a little bit, Ash. I'm waiting a long time. But SRG, you know, it sucks to have this substitution last minute. Is your cope like, okay, we just had this first map, probably the first map they've even played with Joa. Yeah. There's a lot to take from this going into the next one.
Yeah, and I think that you also have to consider how difficult it is to work somebody new in with a very set system. And when you look towards SRG, they have an incredibly set system with how they approach their macro on these maps. And with a last minute substitution coming in for Joa, it can be really difficult to actually catch a new player up to date with how you're looking towards certain defaults, certain set plays, and then also having to change with the type of duelist that you're throwing into this map. Sure, we don't know, like it is possible that maybe they were scrimming with the Yoru the entire time, throwing Dodo onto that role behind the scenes during pracs, but we have to see what they're actually implementing into the server today. And it was, I think, very difficult to actually find that synergy come alive here on the side of SRG.
You definitely saw some moments where they were trying to do that flash in the pan that I was mentioned before, when with this composition, it allows for you to really pop into aggressive mid-round control. For example, when they tried to do the execution to take top vents, when you went for like the smoke onto the male side, and then you had the fault line and the paranoia. So you could just try to come in and fight. But it didn't work out. It was almost something that was already read by Bowie and MORI, because Bowie at that point was playing even an off angle, tucked in on the right side, and it kind of caught Joel off guard. So it's again that the synergy, or at least to try to execute in the first place, was kind of there. But then the next step is, okay, step one, engagement is done. I've gone through there, and you just walk around with like an empty room being like, okay, what do I have to do next? And sometimes that happened, and it didn't really allow here for SRG to get the best footing and the best start on their attack side. And it almost felt very similar on their defensive side, where they would lose the one player super early into the round, and everybody else felt like they had to do a hero play, because the other ones were still so far back on the rotations that you didn't try to stall, you didn't try to go back into those fundies that we know that SRG are really good for when it comes down to these type of fights. They're doing a lot of these hero plays and dying in that moment. It's definitely going to be a moment that MORI could take advantage of, because it's, again, those duel fights.
Yeah, for sure. And then I know that we don't have like the scoreboard up anymore, but Demi even coming out on top as that team MVP, you're talking about how they're looking to take a lot of that space alongside Bowie. And then even beyond that, not even giving, I think, SRG a chance to actually set up for some of those micro plays. Instead, we saw proactivity coming out from MORI. You would see Garpa throwing in even like fault lines for CT on that B side to allow Demi to continue to take those space on those some of those anti-eco rounds going through. And just like the hyper aggression that you didn't really expect to see coming out from this Clove player, not even giving SRG that chance to really even set up for any of those retakes, and often catching them off guard with some of those rotations.
Well, what caught everybody off guard, the duelist matchup, not the one we expected, but the one we were entertained by. So we could do this head to head of the stats. Bowie versus Joa, that new stand-in for SRG coming in last second. Vance.
Mhm.
Bowie, they needed to show up. And I think, going up against a substitute, that surely has got to give you a lot of confidence that you can win that.
That's what we were talking about going into this game, where a lot of eyes were going to be on Bowie when he was going to play this Euro for the team, or just in general as that main duelist. And going week after week where they're not finding success, you need your duelist to start stepping up to the plate and then adding a little bit more freedom and a room to breathe here to make sure that you can close out on in a strong fashion, just like you did on Split previously. But if you look on the side of Joa, even if the numbers look low, I feel that he still kind of did his part in these moments, because he was still 5 in first bloods. He was still tied in the amount of first blood successes that he was able to get with Bowie, and I think failed maybe in 3 occasions. But it's just those small timings that even if you lose Joa, even if he's gone first blood, it's the rest of it. How do you play the 4-on-4 right after, or how do you play the 4-on-5 if Joa dies first? And I feel that was that little thing that was missing. So if anything, it's again going back to what we thought in the very beginning here when we were presenting this match, where SRG are going to have a very hard time integrating Joa into A to Z of their game plan. But if the A at least is there and he's able to score his first blood, then the rest has got to be really on point with the rest of the funnies around the other 4 players to make sure that he pulls out these rounds. But they lost on their map pick, so that's the tough one.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I love that shout where you're talking about how essentially like half of Joa's kills were the first bloods that we saw, those round openers, but some of the spacing just wasn't quite there for the rest of SRG to follow up. And
Right.
that's not just on SRG either, though. I think that Hakikimori also did a good job to try and kind of force Joa onto an island when they were diving so deep onto those sites too. And it was just difficult to actually find that pacing, find that rhythm as a team, because Hakikimori were very quick with a lot of those fast floods in response to dismantle a lot of those executions. And I'm looking towards SRG now looking to reset as we head into Fracture.
Yeah, that's going to be our next map, Fracture, which this was the map that SRG had visited against Trust and Plug in their very first week. A map that SRG felt in their bones was winnable. So to be brought back here again, courtesy of Hakikimori, I'm sure hurts, but I know this is one, Vans, that SRG should still feel confident going into. But then you got to not beat yourself up losing 13-5 against a team that I think on every other day you would think you could win against.
Agreed. When you're looking at this matchup too, it's the Shopify Rebellion game that they had ups and downs on this map of Fracture too, utilizing an EG comp when you're bringing a Sova into the mix. So yeah, even though they lost versus Tip, they still had good victories against Funhammers, for example, which allowed them to qualify in Challengers in the first place. So I think in the moment where you're not going away from what EG built in the first place in that comp, so the opponents are starting to understand a little bit more how the comp is being played. So you just have to be a little bit more perfect on how to utilize around that utility. But this is where it's going to get difficult, because as we talk about the Euro that we saw previously here from Joa, now we're going to have to potentially play a raise around the timing of maybe Sova darts on executions, which could be a little bit harder in the first place. So I wouldn't be surprised here for Shopify Rebellion if they want to pull out something new in terms of a comp, something a little bit more basic to allow here Joa to get a little bit more value. But if not, this is still a very good map here, at least a very good series looking at Hakikimori to get the upset against SRG because of the decent showing, even though in a loss, that there was still some flash in the pan that we saw from Hakikimori against Ambrosia.
Yeah, I love that shout about the potential of a new composition coming out, or maybe even comfort picks there, just to make it a little bit more comfortable there for Joa. Because when you look back at how they've been deciding on those comps on the side of SRG previously, was very old style Fracture, rather than leaning into the meta that we've seen coming out, having that 1-2 punch combo. And they are actually going to lean now into this here on the side of Shopify Rebellion Gold. They'll stick with the raise through and through, but now Noya going to be landing onto the Vice, and then having that Tejo, I think, is massive. I felt like we were missing a little bit when we did have the Sova. Don't get me wrong, Sarah is an insane Sova player,
sure.
but the combination of Tejo and Breach is just unbeatable with how well you can clear out these sites, how well you can even counter util when you're getting that fault line through from the attackers over in A main, and then trying to respond on the defense, and there and here, right? So I really like this new look here coming out from SRG, but I do worry if it's going to be too much as well for trying to integrate this new player today.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up Sarah because, you know, good shout is congratulations on Esports Player of the Year at the Canadian Game Awards. Okay, so I need you to game out, be that Esports Player of the Year because your team needs you. It's series point for MORI, and we could see SRG be relegated in their first season of Challengers. We don't want to see that happen. Unbiased, let's just watch the action. Let's go see Kag and Tenric.
Unbiased? I brought all this copium out for nothing then. Oh, gee, okay, I'll put it away for later. But I mean, I think Shopify Rebellion bringing out this new style composition is really, really, really risky, but also really, really, really good for this team. We mentioned it back on Split. Noya, beholden to the Viper utility. She's been beholden to the Killjoy on Pearl and a lot of different instances, right? I want to see more flexibility from Shopify Gold. This is how you get that flexibility. And slotting in Jawa to the race pick, I think this could work really well on a map that, as an IGL, I think Mel is going to feel a lot more comfortable having more pieces to play around with.
Hard agree. Everyone on Shopify Rebellion is going to want to feel more comfortable on this map, and so whether or not they feel comfortable with this comp now, it doesn't really matter. They kind of got to get with the times. So this is the way they'll need to go, and fast is the tempo at which they'll need to attack when they begin to, which they will here on Dish Drop. We have a 4-stack heading up the ramp. We have the Tejo that Sarah has taken up, clearing the entirety of that hallway, and MORI taking a back seat to this opening push on the pistol.
Really good clear from Shopify Gold. Full site control. Everyone else in MORI, of course, that was for the aggro B main fight. Looking to go for the flank. Post plant. Interesting. Fragmented out in 3 different lanes for Shopify Gold. They have to condense after the first fight.
Bring it back. Try to full send through that opening door. And off of that, just brute force their way through the site with the advantage. That's how they ticked previously. Huge paint shells to play preventative. At least split this in half a little bit, clear the board. Alexis good front seat to keep it stalled, and the rest of Shopify Rebellion can get their frags along the way. Distance damage for Noya done. And now Kaiser able to finish that off. Mel trying to hold it down, and Kaiser with the right clicks keeps it close. But Shopify Rebellion will hold on to the round.
Oh, just such a great read from beginning to end from Shopify Gold. The fact that they went for an unusual pistol A satellite push, to the fact that they had the great timing off of Sarah to clear out A main to make sure the post plant would be a safety zone for them, to the fact that in the re-clear from MORI, understanding that no presence was shown from defender spawn, that it should be a flank, and to hide and evade the double, maybe even triple flashes that came out on A main from the defenders. Through and through, these are the rounds that Shopify need to have in order to bring things to map number 3, and it was so confident.
It's exactly what the fans want to see. Not a MORI, I should make that clear.
Hey, they have fans in Aftermap 1.
Oh, they sure. Oh, I saw this. Dude, the chat was popping out before map 1 even started. These guys got fans.
That's
these guys
awesome.
got support, and they
I really like
absolutely
their logo.
deserve it. Oh, yeah, it looks
It's really
super
cute.
dope.
Oh! Great headshot from Noya. And again, the flexibility. She's not beholden to that utility anymore. She can get these off positions and allow someone like Jawa to truly push up and play for the stall. Another for Noya. It leaves 2 left alive, Demi and Garpa. Separated out. Very little in terms of retakeability.
Already you're seeing Noya feel more comfortable and dynamic with this vice pick, and she is popping off to open up this second round. 4 on the board for her. That's a Steel Garden in your rearview mirror if you're Shopify Rebellion Gold. Already looking a lot more prosperous starting off a Fracture. Of course, being the attack side, that's what you'd hope for.
We had just seen Fracture earlier today in a separate series where it felt like a big issue for a defensive team was we didn't see a lot of aggressive plays from the start of the round. That's the meta of Fracture now. You stack up one lane of this defensive site, whether it be B main, A main, arcade, or satellite, and you push that aggressively to see if you can take that early fight. No one's there. You put U2 in a different lane. You pretty much have triangulated where the attackers should be going. We're not seeing that this rifle round. It's very conservative from MORI. Stealth drones out, heard by MORI. It's the same pistol strat we had just seen.
Same approach onto the site. Joa quick clear of Heaven as they'll take down. And Joa, the
planted.
spam to get rid of Ghost. Good early clear here. MORI, no space to call for themselves, so a lot of early work needs to be done. Lesser risks can be taken, but Demi's made the entryway through the sand, and so suddenly, a bunch of space developed here. Whole lot of real estate off of the back of this Brimstone that is now good for 2 picks, opening up the entire site for the rest of the Hakikimori squad. Bowie tries to get in front of it nice and early, but that's just so the rest of the team can get on the stage. And Noya, standing alone against the rest of the squad, can only do so much more. It's 3 for Demi, 1 for MORI.
Still such a great clear from Shopify Gold. The one fatal mistake, though, was that there was no re-clearing of sand into the round. Demi was by that door the entire time and was giving all the audio calls to the rest of their team to tell, hey, you're free to rotate and go for this flank, just like you did on Pistol. But let's play with the timing a little bit differently. And Demi pops off and, like you mentioned, gives so much real estate to Fracture.
Way to open that up way earlier than Shopify Rebellion intended as well. You could tell that one prong was still towards that site and they just couldn't bottle it up in time. That is the heat check that Hakikimori need to search for if Shopify Rebellion Gold continue to display the confidence that they did in the opening 2 rounds of this game. These are the 2 teams we were looking for. This is a big push down Arcade. Everyone is staring down the steps, and now it seems like Demi is going to be able to turn around, but big push up here. Garpa has a lot of work cut out for him, and he can do it all himself. 3 held down, and the rest of the team is now able to keep the site. Noya yet again alone.
One off Steel Garden could be good for the pick. What even the odds, at least now having the weapon advantage off that ult? Stealth drone. Already given the information needed, but Garpa, a 4K to stack up on B site. It's wild too, right? Because the start of that round, every single player on B site, all 4 of them, were aim dueling down B main. Not a soul, not a single piece of utility was watching Arcade. And yet through all the smokes, and even with the ult clear, it felt like top heaven, Garpa just popped off.
Yeah. Really amazing job to just center that site again after, like you said, it seemed like we shifted our weight a little heavily there. Luckily, Hakikimori still quicker to the punch and still refusing to flinch. We've tied ourselves up here again. And the aggression from MORI to deal with Northside T-spawn as SRG bum rushes A site yet again. It's that peak aggression that we were looking for from both sides. The Razorvine will slow down, but Hakikimori will double back in favor of that CT ground that they want to uphold once they're able to make it past this Vine, which they now will. We meet in the middle yet again on A site, and Bowie's just going to straight up drift his way right onto Spike Plant. Blind his way through, Rolling Thunder on top of it, and now all of the ultimates come out for either side. Joa counters with the Showstopper, but is completely caught by the Orbital Strike. Out. Trying to re-enter. Still Spike not down. Still trying to enter it. Bowie is holding it all down.
Last player standing.
Shopify Rebellion continuing to try to re-engage, but MORI are just too quick to the blow. And now they're ahead.
Just having one player off-site with these audio reads early on has been enough for MORI to go for these quick rotates from B site to A, rather than playing for the retake and doing the same exact thing that they had done to retake Pistol in just a few rounds ago. It's MORI now to fight the execute head on with their ults. Garpa, Rolling Thunder, Demi, the Orbital Strike, huge and snuffing out that positioning that Shopify absolutely needed. Won't be the case anymore. Adjustment now. Shopify pushing up A main. Smoke in the way though. Problem, Bowie, an operator, may have been spotted out by the stealth drone.
Yep.
Surely now.
And no way to TP back. Joa is going to chase that down. No trap, though, on the side of Hakikimori. Demi doesn't get there fast enough, so the hallway is just going to have to be handed over. But now that operator is still up and running again. Steel Garden is not far enough up. That's what the salvo is there for. And on top of the blind, it actually will pressure Bowie to finally use that TP and give over the site to Shopify Gold.
Only one flash available, though, for Shopify off this execute. It's going to be Noya's. None for Alexis on the menu.
Ooh, early stop again. Continuing to contest it, but MORI in front of this sand door, early as always, ready to fight before Shopify can blink. Razorvine to try to settle. And here we go. Huge army outside of the long angle to the door that Shopify's not expecting, but still a 2-for-1 that MORI can't afford. Bowie, an attempted entry off of the blind, and he's still good for 1. That's enough to let Ghost in the door. And now the potential clutch angle off of the 2v2. Limited time though, and so Ghost has to just be aggressive. He'll give himself away because of that, and so Shopify are able to manage the 2v2 and tie us back up again.
Just great mini protocols being brought out by Shopify Gold, understanding where Hakikimori want to prioritize into these retakes and taking back that space early on. The patience, the safety that Shopify have been giving out to each other as teammates to allow someone like Bowie on that operator not to find any impact right away is a far cry from some of the dry swings we saw back on Split. This is a Shopify Gold that looks so much more well adjusted for this matchup.
Ready to contest, and they are going to be forced to here as the salvo will continue to zone them out. Now Arcade is going to be quite the chore to clear, and that's what MORI is hoping for. There's a 3-man cavalcade running down top side CT, and they're gonna clear 3. Perfect execution in such a short window of time. That completely handicaps Shopify Rebellion yet again. Now they will be the ones crunched in Arcade. They will have to get over aggressive, and Noya will be the one to wide swing as always. Mel having to drop the call, still having this orbital strike in hand to potentially get a flush going, but so much work needs to be done to try to hold on to this round to a degree.
Could very well just be waiting for those smokes to die out, maybe use the ult to clear some space and give Noya the chance to aim duel down alongside Mel. Smokes, though, are just a facade. Hakikimori are very well aware about where the last 2 of Shopify are, and every shot has missed. Every one of them.
Yep. Goes to show, kids, never shoot through smokes. It won't work.
Oh.
30 seconds left.
You know, I could have graduated college if I didn't shoot through smokes. So it's a save. Probably leading into Shopify taking their first timeout. But honestly, again, I think if we look at the timeouts from Shopify back on Split and say, okay, mental reset, not a lot of
10
strategic
seconds
changes
left.
came through, at least on a big picture scale. I think this time for Fracture, it's more so, okay, we're grounded, we're good. This is a strategical change. We need to figure out how to make sure MORI cannot get comfortable with these 5-second into round rushes.
The issue is, where else do you really go if Hakikimori reads you properly? The way that they were able to wall out with those salvos and then the Razorvine to follow, I mean, do you just expect a fight like that going forward? Are you not conditioned to do that? Do you just have to start fighting Northside T now?
I mean, welcome to partnerships, man. That's how it works now. I think a big, large part of that last round, too, was the fact that Ghost brought out the Steel Garden right away into that gunfight. You even saw Sarah go for the swing. The X icon was over the crosshair, and you can see the reaction of being like, oh. So I mean, at least that can't happen every round. I think that's a good saving grace for Shopify here. Their confidence in taking those early fights, I think, are going to be really solid after this timeout.
I 100% agree. Once again, heat check after heat check turn out to make Shopify Rebellion more confident, but that's the necessity of this team, especially when you're this far down in the Swiss. It's all an uphill climb from whoever even makes it out of this. And damn, they're both putting up a good fight now. Hakikimori continuing to outshine in the fragging department, in the dueling department when it comes down to this close quarters fight. And clearly, they are still faster than Shopify Rebellion. That must change.
It's going to be hard, though, when you have someone like a Yoru against you to have that
exactly.
speed. I mean, Joa's a Raze, and we haven't seen a ton of, like, solo hero Raze plays that we've come to expect. But Joa also has just been thrown in seemingly at the last second. I think Joa being more of, like, an institution for the team, just an entry tool like they were back on Split, is perfectly fine here.
It's all you can really ask for when you've got such a last-minute change to your team.
Ooh. Big changeup from MORI. No early fights, at least none that end in any bloodshed. It's back to the protocol of A site. Nothing was found, and I don't believe the Vice util has been discovered yet. No stealth drone brought out by Sarah. This is all contact plays for this execute. You can't stay on site here. You have to push up once that spike goes down.
Go the smokes. Will they attempt to fully engage this? All right, they'll walk on.
My blind is dead. Wall tripped.
Good amount used along the way. Noya able to
30
sequence her
seconds
util really well, and now the Vines are able to actually stall out a little bit extra.
planted.
Sand control for the post plan, not pushing up just a tiny bit, playing off that orbital strike as the final saving grace.
Illicit gets met early to stealth drone heard, but not any fight won. It's once again Demi with the opening frag. And now they'll try to open up the rest of the drop onto Sand. Bowie holding it all down in the hallway though. And he won't give himself any more, but Sarah will become so crowded on the site after all the damage has been done. And that opening onto A main has been such a death sentence for Shopify Rebellion in several of these post plants at this point, not just from Bowie, nearly everybody from Hakikimori's cashed in.
And you see the gears turning, like it's not the same strat every single time. There's always these small differences that are being called out by Mel to do differently in the hopes that this can be the winning A strat. And whether it be Joa pushing far up into heaven, yeah, right here, that could have been a triple kill for Joa, but unfortunately, just the sprays didn't connect. And Bowie was able to win that flank 1v2 and win back all of that re-clear of A-site control. Just truly unlucky for Shopify's attack. Now here's a question for you. How many attacking rounds does Shopify need to feel comfortable on this half?
With the fact that their tempo control is not going to be as good as Hakikimori's because of the Yoru, I would say you're looking for 5, truthfully.
Yeah. I think the cop-out answer would be they need to be flawless from here on out, but I do agree. I think 5 is the safe bet.
Yeah, I think, yeah, if you walk in with 4, I think Shopify's definitely a little scared with Hakikimori's prowess and the pistols still coming through, especially with their attack potentially being so dangerous. Even still, Spike is down cleanly and plainly here with these pistols. Hakikimori not taking any super huge risks on the potential lurks and wraps. They have dotted all their I's and crossed all their T's, and Shopify Rebellion maintaining the same level of respect, watching every angle possible, but this sand door still looks so unstable, and if Garpa can just open up as organically as he does, then it's gonna be a whole lot tougher. No real ground made up with this gun difference still shining through, and so Hakikimori should walk away pretty easily with this 6. Gorgeous double frag, though, with the stinger on the side of Mel, who tries to pick up one more gun before Demi shuts it down. Again, noise continuing to be made from the attackers, but Hakikimori, they will maintain their discipline in a 6th round.
That was so clean for the double. But Hakikimori, again, they're making small variations of their retake strats as well. They're fishing for Shopify to swing into them and then guiding out these double, triple, however many people they have available swings to win these fights against Shopify on a mass scale. At this point, yeah, A-site's not working. You have to go somewhere else, and that's continuously why you keep seeing Hakikimori stack up defenders on B. Every round they're expecting this to be a B hit, and they don't get what they wish for, but they reset and retake for A. Now, finally, we see an aggressive push outside of Satellite. That's going to get rid of at least one marker of the potential lanes that Shopify want to bring out. Orb should be heard by Ghost. Help sell some information. Stall util set up by Hakiki right outside the B main corridor. No visibility at all on Arcade. But theoretically, Sarah would bring out the stealth drone. That would be heard by the Brimstone. And so this is a fake instead, Tenrek, to bring things back over into A.
Yeah. I wanted to try and just drive at least one more over.
This has to be a fake for B site.
I feel like, yeah, it doesn't feel like they can keep it here, especially with the fact that they know Bowie can potentially run this down with the operator. But they'll decide to open their weak site. Mel with the first frag out the sand door, and they'll continue to rummage through A site. MORI again respectfully staying outside of the smokes, but continuing to launch some util at the problem so that Mel has to stay on her toes. Now the real fight begins on that weaker side, and Shopify still scared to re-peek it. Little Molly on top of Demi that cannot watch everything. Again, great patience here from Shopify Rebellion Gold on the hold of sight, which MORI will let go of. It will be a 4th round for the attacking side.
What a blessing from Shopify Gold. It seemed like at first the idea was to at least maybe fake from A site to B. And then if this was going to be an A execute, allow Noya to have that extra space, listening to rotates off of B site to crawl behind into spawn and flank. Neither one of those happened. And Shopify was so good to take the 2 opening fights to get rid of sand control that they finally had the pressure they needed to win a round on A site.
Never.
4 rounds. We said 5 should be the minimum for comfortability off of this attack. There's 2 more opportunities for Shopify Gold, but I will say, if there has to be a bare minimum, I think Shopify getting 4 rounds for their attack here is a very good place to be at.
Certainly if they run out of tools, but they have so much to work with going into these final 2. I feel like they'd still be disappointed if they don't walk away with 5 here.
I agree.
It's all about how they mount this aggression off of those ultimates and how easily they're able to flush out the biggest threats. And of course, the one that stands right in front of them is still Bowie with this operator. The stealth drone to very quickly confirm that, take over the hall, and now we'll go for the stun to deal with him completely. TP back over to the B side, and yet again, A site will be handed over all too easily to start things out. Rolling Thunder for good measure, though, and Garpa will have to back away heavily, but Kaiser actually gets inside and will get 1 on the way. Now Demi opens up, good for 3! That is unbelievable!
Mel's the only survivor of the Demi-apocalypse of sand. At this point, A site again, not really working out. And I keep thinking this is such a great opener too for Shopify because they get rid of Bowie's position with this op, and that is a staple of this defense. It forces Bowie to TP back early, give up a lot of A side control. But it really just takes a hero play for one defender on sand to consistently take back that control from Shopify.
And they're back so fast too.
Yeah.
They're able to trade off of themselves before the fight even starts. They don't need to get an early read on it. Shopify Rebellion isn't like terribly telegraphing this. It's not. They just have time, and they use it properly. And by the time one of the members of Mori is down, there is always that support system available because of how easily and well all of these players is able to hold their own individually. Nobody is having an off day on Mori at this point in time. The perfect time for all 5 members to be able to wake up simultaneously, which is what I think so many people have said has been the issue with both of these teams, that they've just been struggling in purgatory, falling down this bottomless pit with a slight lack of identity. But this level of mechanics that we saw rankers establish themselves off of, could it be that our first team to get to playoffs mirrors the ideals of the team that was perceived as the 16th seed walking into this tournament?
So we pretty much have our VCL EG 2023. Okay, all right. I'm for it. I'm for it. 3 ults available now for the last round for Shopify. Not the A take we're expecting. Back to the pistol strat once more. Stealth drone is out, finding not nearly as much info. This time, A main not in the favor of Shopify, which was guaranteed to them each take they've had like this before.
Another early showstopper. Bowie will at least be dealt with, but the salvo to already pressure her. Noya with the drop down, good for 2 though. And that'll be the sweep that Shopify Rebellion was searching for. The individualism comes from the other side this time. And that should be 5, but Kaiser's got this Armageddon, Ghost has got this Operator. Mori's gonna give it their all, and they have some time to do it. The smoke re-up will make it a little bit of a tough window. Steel Garden on top of it all too, and so Mori walks into this with basically nothing. They'll go ahead and seal their own fate. So it is 5-7 on the half. Shopify Rebellion still not looking as clean as they'd like to. It's obvious as to why, a number of reasons for sure, but Mori is the headline of this match. They continue to be, as they grace us with their mechanical prowess.
And again, I'm expecting Mel, the wonderful IGL, to have a lot more in-depth strats when it comes to the attacking side. And the calls should be more in-depth than what Mori can bring for their own side. But for the defense, I'm worried that we might start seeing something more so like Shopify's Pearl defense, where it becomes very utility timing driven. MORI was able to beat out Shopify on split the same exact way. Just wait out their defense, wait out the utility, and strike at the last second. Shopify are changing up the pace. They're looking for those aggro fights early on satellite. This is exactly what they need to do to bring things 7-7. But MORI's a scrappy team. They don't necessarily have to play together nearly as much as Shopify does. They can go for those hero plays and get those 1v3s.
MORI, gonna start with the stack up the steps. TP from Buoy to take control of the entirety of B early. While Shopify Rebellion opted to go for the full clear of A site for that certainty of a lack of a lurk. That being said, MORI will be able to respread themselves here, so Shopify have to engage on every front. And that sheer will give away the north side T-spawn entry from at least one. Sarah and Joa heading down from Arcade.
High-low setup with Buoy.
Early swing out on the flash, only good for the one. Sarah swings late, but so does Demi, and so it is still a 2v1 on that high-low. Shopify Rebellion do win the better fight on the site, though. Annoyance just gonna stick this defuse. I don't know if anybody can even re-enter on top of this. Body blocks to hold it down. And a defense that is fully complete after the defusal.
Just right under everybody's noses. Huge from Shopify to get that smoke control and hideaway for the defuse. Hakiki were so dead set on taking that back arcade control and re-clearing it that they weren't focused on the objective at hand. A prime opportunity for Shopify to sneak in, and probably something that Hakiki will not let happen again. I'm willing to bet that in these next few spike post-plant rounds, they're probably going to play very close to site after that.
Going to have to stick to their guns. Thank God their guns are working now.
Wow.
The life of an O3 team is not easy. Okay?
I can imagine. That's why I don't play.
Hey, Chad, how many times do you think I've gone 0-3, huh?
Spike down B.
Good follow-up so far from Shopify. MORI, searching for ghosts. But that's all you can really do. Hey, and orbs, you know, props Kaiser.
Yeah, I mean, this early Armageddon's going to be gigantic, and something that we don't really get to see a lot in VCL teams is just orb control. Even if deep cut, even back in GC Champs 2023, a big reason why we would see Shopify win so many rounds was because they would purposely set up for orb farming just for floor to get a lot of early showstoppers. That's something that Shopify has usually used as a dominant factor over other GC teams. And it just feels like we haven't really seen that as much in VCL. Left. I mean, hey, look, there's an orb. Yeah, go on.
It is kind of incredible how the departure of Fluorescent from Shopify Rebellion Gold kind of exactly coincided with the discussion being had on a wider scale of VCL, where kind of Tier 2 North America is at this stage where enabling one star is not going to get your team over the line. When it might in a previous year of challenge of something that was even at the Challengers level. So walking into this where we are now off of that position where kind of everyone has to find that individual work and everyone sort of sets up each other now instead of there being necessarily these pocket plays that a lot of teams may go for. It's strange to see Shopify Rebellion Gold and each of its players kind of find their new role and blossom themselves. Problem is, you gotta aim better consistently in order for that blossoming to look good on camera. And so far, Hakiki, their development going on from ranked to premier to here, through all of those tough mudslinging fights that they were working through in their first 3 matches, they look more ready than ever for the environment that Tier 2 is proposing to them today.
Extremely well prepped. Hakiki are playing this so slow. Trying to find an ounce of information against Shopify Gold. 7-7 now, a tied-up match. Each of the players, you're absolutely right, have individually looked great into this matchup. But as a team, there have been at times some hero plays. And then there's been teams like Rankers who are all heroes, it seems. Buoy, though, opening pick. Your IGL now gone. The smoke's removed. Shopify won't be able to use those smokes for the post plant, but Noya in her presidential tower has yet to be contested.
He's still not even challenged. MORI preferring to ignore her and deal with the remainder of the fight before anything else. Yeah, now baiting out after the early kill. Noya will be swung out, and so MORI will be able to deal with the rest of the fight. Holding on to 4 for the bonus, pretty decent as well. So they look well set for the remainder of this game too. We will get these two teams at their best here on what could be the final side for Shopify Rebellion Gold.
So what's the plan now for Hakiki Mori? Again, when you're attacking Fracture, the world in a way is your oyster. You can have some of the wildest defaults possible. Teams often just like to 4-stack one site and crunch with one person on the other, which works pretty well, especially Arcade. These are usually how attacking teams open up their pistol rounds. Hakiki Mori are playing it a lot slower though. They're worried about that heavy control that Noya just had. And early contact play against Mel before the smokes can go down. Caught her off guard. Jawa also the fall. One by one, we're not seeing Shopify Gold play off of each other. It's all these individual positions. Alexis and Sarah are the only ones to do so, the only survivors now. Isai has not been held onto.
Perfect excuses for Hakiki Mori to stretch their limbs. Continuously walled out by the aftershock here, but Garpa will get the spike down in time, so MORI have all the pressure they need to retain this round. That being said, Armageddon available to at least flush out one side of it, and that's what Sarah's gonna do, force out the stair swing. Ghost just gets peeking, and no one checks it. Ghost gets both. The one guy pressured by the ultimate is the one to get both.
He's a ghost.
Ooh. I just realized there's Ghost and Buoy on the team. How have we not even picked that up, dude? We're Valorant casters and we didn't discover something as corny as that?
You know, I was thinking Bluey.
Oh.
I mean, he's playing a blue character.
That's true.
He's just not an Australian dog.
That works for me. Yeah, no, that's enough for me.
You know, if, well, I guess Bowie's playing the Phantom. I was going to say if they're both playing Phantom, we could sing the Dandy Phantom song.
Was Ghost just now playing Phantom, or was he?
I think he's been Vandal.
No, I think he has been too. Darn. Our whole bit's done.
Come on, Danny Phantom!
But
that's okay.
Okay, yeah, this timeout from Shopify Rebellion is well warranted. I imagine it, funnily enough, it is more of a mental reset than a playbook look at.
Yeah.
And it's kind of exactly what they need, because they have once again allowed MORI to get hot, and they have no real answer to these individual fights again. This is the same practice we saw them completely flunk on in the previous map, and the opener of Fracture that tore this open, it could very well send them out of the Swiss here too.
It's really been an advantage of positioning with MORI over Shopify. Shopify have the right ideas, even back on their attacking side, but with Mel being that opening pick, Bowie just, I almost said Bluey, absolutely just wide swung into the contact angle near Canteen and took her out for the round. And it's plays like that that just seem unexpected against Shopify that work out so well. Shopify once more now focusing A main as the changeover post timeout. MORI themselves are waiting for an over-aggression from Shopify that probably won't exist. Now remember, Noya has been serving this Senti util, the Vice util, all over B side. Hasn't really stopped MORI. But now there's very minimal utility brought out on B. Could be more reactive this time for A pressure.
A lot of unloading early here for Gold to maintain the control. And they know what that's going to mean for this MORI attack. It means they'll head over to this B site where, suppose they retain that confidence. Bowie going to be prompted to use the dimensional drift because of that opening, and he's been handed complete intel onto the tower. Joe is going to get pressured like a dog. Still not down just yet, and a lot of util to offer to the conversation. Bowie just hands himself over to him.
Yeah, the best weapon that Shopify Gold had going into this retake, Bucky gets one of the opening picks. Bowie now gone. Chance of an Armageddon off of Kaiser, null and void. Ghost though, Steel Garden in play. The problem though is that Shopify Gold don't have any primaries.
They're still gonna let it go.
Mel's off the molly, it didn't hit the entire spike. Timmy's gotta re-swing
Steel Garden. Now good enough to stop Joa, who actually does have that rifle, and tries to hold on to the fight instead of the orbital strike. But such a difficult way to go. Fun swing off of this blast pack, but patient is Hakikimori, and they still hold on to enough on the one angle that they need to. A great attempt from Shopify Rebellion Gold, though.
Just consistently, B-site has been broken into for Hakikimori. Shopify Rebellion have already gone for a timeout, and they're still, granted it was an eco round, hasn't been a major response to what they can do for these post plants. Just like back on Split, it's the late round that Hakikimori seemingly glimmer the most. Full rifles now for Shopify Gold. If they play this round and falter, this could be one of the last rifle rounds they have in VCL. Jawa, an operator in play, watching Contact Arcade. Decoy brought out Bowie, stuffing utility out of A main to fake this pressure. The majority of Hakikimori taking a page out of the Shopify book and aggressing out from Satellite.
Is that an orbital strike to get rid of the Yoru? TP'd out. And now MORI is just going to take the push on drop. And now we'll throw in the Rolling Thunder as well to try to disparage one. Joa on the way back through CT will deal with the overextending from Bowie. But still, so much space already made by Hakikimori. And what really does SRG have to offer from here? I guess some good aim off of that positioning. President Noya able to deal with the rest. And you said she was serving up a lot earlier. Now she's just serving. 8-10 here, SRG.
Whew, that's my president. A great retake off of A site, and this was an alt strat from Hakikimori. They don't go for A very often, but that just seals the deal that B site may continuously need to be procced in different ways, mirroring how Shopify continue to press A themselves. Now remember, Java still has that operator. Watching the contact angle in Arcade, no different from last round. Noya has been great to set up on B, and retake values were huge. Stealth drone outside A will sell early on that Shopify don't have to worry about the A main pressure. It should be instead now high-low setup off of Arcade. Shopify Gold should have the first opening pick in their pocket. They want to stall against Hakikimori. Stealth drones out, audio heard.
Oh, Joa spotting Bowie over the smoke. And now MORI, a lot tougher to engage on either of these fronts. Ghost still having to watch outside of this sheer. Doesn't have a clean way in until MORI brute force in from Arcade, but they can't confidently do so on this opening pick because now they have the smoke in their way. Joa will be intimidated out, and so SRG will hand this over for now. Ghost trying to apply that pressure with the vines from afar as well. Make sure that this sheer is only utilized once MORI is confident enough to duck back outside of it, and, well, they've gotten ahead of the problem at this point anyway, so do they really care? Doesn't seem like it. Molly can even catch Sarah before Demi tries to reapproach the fight. He gets to save his bullets for the rest of it. Good thing, too, is it's still a 3v2 that is close as can be, with the Steel Garden still ready to go. This SRG squad looks to try and get active. Mel out early. Noya behind catches Garpa on the wraparound, and limited time now to act upon this Steel Garden. Looking for Ghost. Here's the jump. Sees Ghost, but still can't get the kill. The Do-Si-Do is won by Noya, but Kaiser can stand from a distance. Salvo, and then swing. Should be all she wrote there, but nice blind early from Noya to stall things out. Could that be a free half? No, Kaiser, quick as a bullet. 11-8 now for Hakikimori.
Just great patience from Hakikimori, losing their opening pick, still smokes in play, doubling down and using the lack of vision to their advantage by pushing up into heaven and taking that crunch control B main. It's a tough show, but that's the confidence plays that we're seeing from Hakikimori. You lose the opening pick, a pixel of a rifle spotted, and Jawa strikes with an operator. But from there, it's just going in and swinging, man. Even with the Steel Garden about to erupt, Ghost still takes that fight against Mel. What more do they have to lose?
Oh, immediate TP in from Bowie. Extra aggressive that Sarah's able to turn into, but still a 1-for-1 in MORI. You're just going to go for the full fight. Shopify Rebellion tries to take it, but loses again. Alexis in the smoke, only good for 1-2. And the gamble plays are always at a loss. Round over before it can even start, and that's most of the economy for Shopify Rebellion Gold as well.
This is a big change too. Attempting to push out B main for that early fight. Just something to stifle this aggressive push from Mori. It just wasn't enough. Lost fights everywhere. 1v1s may be able to be found. That's one for Noya. Another Heaven, one below Arcade. Back up the ropes for the double swing. Not even necessary. One more round and Mori, they move on forwards in Challengers, and unfortunately, we'd have to say goodbye to Shopify Gold.
Such a slim margin for error and so much room that MORI have to roam. Look at this ult bank, dude.
I'm looking at the normal bank.
Just ban watch on all sides here for Mori as they prepare to enter their first of what could be 4 match points for their first match in VCL NA after their first map that they were able to grab.
Oh no. And this is the fracture problem. You have this double aggressive read outside B and A main.
Yep.
And Mori don't exist in either. They're all Arcade. And the re-clear out through the attacker south spawn finds nothing. That does tell Mel this has to be a northern push. Is it satellite? Is it B? It has to be B though. This has been Mori's bread and butter. They've been continuously winning this site.
So much clearing for free here. Demi just barely caught in the back, but Noya
Oh, the
may not be
timing.
ready for Ghost. He's not. Ghost, good for the one. Now for both. How does he find that so fast? Absolutely unreal reaction time from him. And yet again, Shopify Rebellion cut short early. Armageddon on top. Rolling Thunder potentially to counteract. They may not even need it. Mori have all they need. Demi for the 2. Bowie just gonna hold it down and finishes it with a classic. Shopify Rebellion Gold will take 16th place in this first split of NA, and Mori will win their first match in the Swiss stage, staying alive in it.
It really feels like a lot of teams are taking pages out of the Rankers playbook and focusing on individual play work and then banding together as a gigantic team for their gigantic macro strats. I love to see all these amazing gunfights and retake strats come through from teams just like Mori to show you need to have firepower behind you if you want to be able to go against the best of the best in this league. It comes down to a lot of hero plays and the individual strengths of players, where the olden days of structure seem to be falling to the wayside to fundies.
And indeed, with a team that is still waiting for its 5th to fully develop, and hell, had to get a sub for her today, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
Shopify Rebellion Gold, a team that is so hell-bent on working off of set strats and such a deep book of plays that their coaching staff and management has been able to develop for them. When that individual play starts to scream through time after time after time, the people who are able to do it consistently are going to be the ones who come ahead. And today that was Mori. Who knows what it could be going forward? The work is certainly not finished for at least one of these teams, but we'll see how good they're feeling after a match like that after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
Tournaments, even teams that are you know, more inexperienced and haven't been together as long are all like clawing to be the best team and to win. I feel like the energy is like everybody's trying to be the absolute best. So that is something I feel is a little bit different than Game Changers, because there isn't a lot of Game Changers teams at the moment. So it's hard to field that kind of competitive environment when there's just so few teams right now. So playing in open tournaments, I feel like we kind of get that sort of push for us to be even more competitive and for us to try even harder against these teams who are also trying just as hard. I feel like this is not a diss to Floor, because obviously Floor is just the best Game Changers player to exist. But I feel like we're more well-rounded as a team because it's not solely focused on setting up Floor now, where it's more so everyone on the team has an opportunity to pop off. Obviously Karn is insane and she's still a pop-off duelist for sure. But I think it made everybody else think, okay, I need to step up and I need to be able to, you know, frag out a bit more to fill Floor's shoes, essentially. To be in Challengers, it feels like my entire career and my team's entire career, I've kind of led up to this. It feels like this is always what we've been working towards. So honestly, at first it was a little anticlimactic because it was like, oh, well, we did it. Now what? So to be able to compete in these matches and play against better competition, it's honestly really fun more than anything, but also it is like a breath of fresh air to be able to play against new players and new teams and all that. Honestly, my only expectation for us is for us to do our best, and if we do that, then I'm happy, to be honest. I'm not going to set a super high goal or expectation. I just want us to do our best, to be honest.
Hakiki Mori got their first win in Challengers, y'all. It is not Jover. Congratulations to them, and doing it in a sweep and doing it in their fashion, Vans. It was just great to see them take one.
100%. And playing with a lot of confidence, too. I think when we prefaced this game that it was going to be a very hard game for Shopify Rebellion Gold, there was no punches that were held back, unfortunately, on the side of Hakiki Mori, because it looked very, very good on how the team play was. The crossfires were perfect. We keep, I guess it's the key term for tonight, the fundies have been really, really good for Hakiki Mori, especially in the pulse plants on the attack side as well. And just for them to have different types of tempos when they're playing against Shopify Rebellion Gold, it kind of just felt like they made it very difficult for Shopify Rebellion Gold to get their right footing here into the whole series the whole time. You're like trying to second guess when you should swing here or there. There were moments here where you almost thought Shopify Rebellion were going to have good positions in the post plant when they were playing their attack side, and suddenly, boom, Demi comes in, triple kill, and then it's all over for Shopify Rebellion Gold. They can't hold back the post plant. So overall, again, I still feel that this is a great showing from Hakiki Mori. A lot more, I think we're seeing progression after every week when we already praised the series that they had against Ambrosia. And now to be able to get a victory on top of that against a prestigious team such as Shopify Rebellion Gold, I think you're coming out with a lot of confidence here.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Just being able to have that brimming and carry that momentum forward as we head into the remainder of this week, even looking at, you know, potential eliminations in the next couple of days, and then also trying to get some better seeding as well going into playoffs there too. So a lot of pressure, but for the side of Shopify Rebellion Gold, it was a really tough look for them. I think definitely difficult to have Joa coming in, stepping up, and not to say, I mean, he played actually pretty well, all things considered, as far as being able to do his job, his role as a duelist to make that space. But it is, again, hard to kind of implement a duelist into your system. It's so late within the stage and then last minute as well. And we look even towards these statistics here. Joa, he ended up going 8-4 in those first kills, first deaths. And I think, though, you look at that, you look at the numbers overall, and for Shopify Rebellion Gold, they managed to find, I think, 13 first kills actually throughout this map. And Hakiki Mori, what was insane, you can see the numbers across the board and how like evenly they were fragging. I felt like there was just consistency in at least one player every single round being able to step up to find some of those multi-kills and actually even out that round, even though SRG would often start out with that numbers advantage.
And it tells a lot about Joel, actually, to be able to ask, or to be asked to fill in last minute, not only for, hey, a week 3 of the Swiss stage, but like, hey, we're currently 0-3. If we lose this one, we're beating Owen into losing, unfortunately, and getting relegated. Can you come and play for us, please? And for him to come in and still put decent numbers and doing what he needed to do at most, despite not fitting the system, if you could put it in that way, I think was still pretty good. I mean, that single round where he was getting pushed in by Bowie and all that utility when he was playing that judge on the top of B Heaven, it just shows that the pressure really wasn't showing, and it wasn't pressing him down into his performances. So that tells me a lot for anybody else that wants to have an opportunity of putting a good duelist into their roster to compete well. I think you have to have an eye on Jola.
Yeah, and have an eye on these thrifties, because geez, like I'm glad you brought up earlier, Ash, that Mori can play against all odds. Like bring me through round 7 where you noticed that.
Yeah, I think what was really cool is we talk a lot about, the frags coming in, but we got to talk about some of the macro that we actually saw for this team as well. I think we're actually missing it in this replay, but it started off with the Vice ultimate that comes out over in arcade, and it's on this thrifty round here for the side of Mori. They take away those guns out of SRG, who then start running in the other direction, where it was actually, I believe, a 4-player push coming out from Dish on the side of Mori, and they managed to capitalize on an SRG that kind of starts scrambling, forcing Mel and Noya into this save situation. And that was just really nice coming out from Mori, an idea that they're able to implement.
Especially in long-range fights when the Sheriffs were hitting. And on top of that, you have, as you were mentioning, Ash, the Steel Garden that came out that nullified the last pistol that was going to wide swing to hopefully get the long-distance battle from the rifle to the Sheriffs, and then boom, you get locked out, and then you get dropped, and then they get weapons on top of that as well. And it comes to show what we were mentioned before, the way that it can change different tempos, because the casters have mentioned it before, where Keg and Tenric were both saying it's like, hey, they're not taking too much forward aggression. It's like the name of the game now with this composition on the map like Fracture. And then boom, they just come out with that type of stuff on the Thrifty. And we talked about a lot of those crunches and these haymakers that it almost looked like Shopify Rebellion were sort of ready for it, but they weren't expecting those shots. And then lining up here, the ultimates on top of that.
Yeah, there was just like the firing squad out of Mori. We promise you guys that was a thrifty. If you were there, you saw it. Because those are some pretty nice vandals from Valorant Street. That's all I'm saying. You love them when they're for free. But there was one person who absolutely stood out to us. Some Demi Moore, Demi Lovato references, but on full display, putting on a show, should be the next celebrity going up, because Demi stepped up, and I want to look at those stats, because you talked to Vans about the person who could put up those multi-kills, and we kind of saw in the montage a little bit. Demi delivered in those big moments.
Yeah, definitely. And going into the end of the series of like a plus 15, so 44 kills overall on the top of the scoreboard, 204 average damage per round is the crazy part. Because this only shows, I think, for one map, but the whole series, if you're looking at here on the stats, it's 204 ADR, which is pretty crazy. That's high input. And you saw in those moments, it's not like I'm holding an angle and then I'm going to be able to just have players run into my crosshair. He was actually running in through smokes and then finding timings, again, almost at the ranker style, where you're thinking, okay, with the smoke that's down from Brimstone with 20 seconds, nobody's going to swing through that. And then, boom, we can run into our next wave of XX. But he's just out in the open, catching it with util in hands, and then really changing around in favor here of Mori going into these holds on their defensive side.
Yeah, it worked out really well for them. I think playing with a lot of confidence. He had like 4 3Ks within that last map there on Fracture, which is crazy coming up from a Brimstone, but also ensuring that he was getting his util down before actually going for some of those aggressive plays too, right? With the Brimstone, those smokes don't refresh. So once they get laid down, once you set down that molly, if you're not playing for that post-plant ult, you're just, you're kind of a body that's just looking to get some frags, maybe get a little bit of that information. And that firepower came in spades. A lot of it came from, assistance coming out from Garpa, from Ghost as well, with those flashes coming in. And it was just really nice looks, and even opening up rounds for Bowie there as well to take a lot of that space that's being created and pushed forward on his team.
For sure. There's something in the water on Fracture where it's always the Brimstones that are top fracking and doing the Lord's work out there. But yeah, big congratulations to Mori, and I actually have them on the line for their first post-match interview. We got to give y'all the real Challengers experience. So great to meet you, Bowie. I'm Jen Lemon-Kiwi. I feel like I have to do this intro, but first win in Challengers, saving yourself from elimination. Bring me through what this means to you, Bowie.
It's a wave of emotions, like how you guys were saying in the first week that we're just a brand new team. We haven't been playing together that much, and it just felt like finally securing a win in Challengers, especially against a really good team, it just felt really like a big accomplishment for all of us. And we hope we can just carry that momentum going forward now.
For sure. And did anything change for you when you realized that SRG were using a duelist sub? Did that give you kind of extra aura being the duelist?
You know, like we obviously were prepared for Donut, you know, like we know that she's a very like valuable asset to Shopify. And the thing is when we saw it, we were really surprised. We thought we had to change it all up, but no, we just kept our plans going, you know. Joe was a really good player, so we knew that like it's not like an easy game now, but we just kept cool, just went with the plans and just worked out for us all.
That's really cool to see that you're showing respect and but you're not intimidated, and we kind of saw that confidence on display. And coming from Premier, like your team story is really inspirational. So tell me about how did your team come together and how did you prepare for a level of competition that I imagine a lot of you haven't experienced before?
You know, I mean, I guess you could like say it's similar to rankers, you know, like most of my team, we just grind ranked like all the time. Like, you know, we've all hit Radiant before, except for one of us, but he's gonna be there really soon because you know he got that skill. But you know, it's like just playing through Premier, we thought like it was a really good like way to get tournament experience. We didn't actually know, in fact, how impactful it would be to getting us into Challengers, but we took it as a good way to get team experience, and then it just helped us get into Challengers. And I feel like that's what helped like prepare us a little bit for it. Obviously, the calibers of teams were way different in Challengers, but you know, I really do think that Premier was a good foundation for us.
For sure. Like you guys know how to scrap in any situation. I kind of like this baby rankers like scenario that you're presenting. And I think with more time, you guys could definitely be that. And what's next for you and the team, speaking of more time? Like how do you plan on winning every match from here on out?
You know, every week, you know, it's, you know, against the Matey, it was a pretty rough start for all of us. It was a wake-up call. And, you know, we really did just see it as like, okay, we're not in the baby leagues, we're in the big leagues. So we're every week we just kept grinding and grinding and grinding. And I feel like you all can see that we you know, over the course of all the weeks so far, we've improved and improved, and that's all we're gonna do. We see this as our first win, so that's a big momentum changer for us. And we'll see where Challengers puts us, you know, with the new bracket, but hey, we're gonna be back here real soon.
Sure. And like, I'm so curious, are you guys like scrimming, or are you just sticking to like the Premier, like the ranked match is kind of what helped you get into this position?
Oh no, don't worry. We're definitely
okay.
We're not just playing ranked now. We're scrimming, you know, we're still working on our game, doing everything we can to improve. You know, we're playing catch up. You know, all these teams have been here before. We're like pretty fresh. All of us are completely new to Challengers. Everyone has at least one person that's a veteran to Challengers, so we're the team that needs to like play catch up the most.
Well, you bought yourselves another week, and it was so fun to watch you, and it was so great to meet you. Thank you so much for the interview, and best of luck.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Bowie. And that was Hakiki Mori, and that was just such an awesome interview, guys, to just the story coming out of Premier to grinding to getting into the scrims, getting into the structure of being like a real competitive team. And Vance, I like that they call themselves like they're kind of like rankers.
Yeah, you almost have no choice right at that point. And I kind of like now the story that you have with what Riot is able to build with partnership or premiership rather, or the Premier program, just like how Game Changers allowed now Shopify Rebellion Gold to come into Challengers. So if you never had the Premier system, there's a high chance you maybe wouldn't see these 5 players in that same roster or know about these players because there was no other ways of getting known in that fact. So to be able to continue to play ranked and say, okay, well, we're 5 guys or 4 guys, almost one making it to Radiant. Let's try to make a team, see how it works out in Premier, and then suddenly it works out, and then boom, you're out here in the VCL and you got your first game. So like the whole storyline, and I feel like there was a Valorant song made after that. When you start from Premier and you're onto the main stage at Masters, it almost could be that storyline here for Hakiki Mori, which is awesome to see.
And Ash, just looking at our bracket, we have Hakiki Mori now 1 and 3, joining quite a few teams in the same department, like Ambrosia, Burger Boys, Winthrop, and now Hakiki Mori are all 1 and 3. Like, it's still do or die. You are still 1 loss away from being eliminated.
Yeah, that's the thing is that in the next couple of days, it's just the fact that, for every team that hits 4 losses, it ends up being eliminated, right? And when you're looking at that 1-3 group right now, things actually feel pretty darn close. When
Mm.
I feel like originally you would look at a couple of those teams on paper, like Burger Boys and Ambrosia, and even Winthrop as well for some of their plays, you'd be like, okay, these maybe we'd see them more like closer to the middle of the pack rather than within the lower tier of VCL. And Hakikimori already showed that they could take it a really close match up against Ambrosia yesterday. And now with the confidence of today's win, I think that there's a chance where they can actually dodge that elimination matchup and try to take somebody else down.
And yeah, we got more matches tomorrow and after tomorrow, but I also wanted to give a special shout out to Shopify Rebellion Gold, the first Game Changers team to be in Challengers, and what a tough road and a humbling one. Just a different level of competition that they're used to farming and making crazy money over in Game Changers, to now really relishing in this experience, Vans. And to go out not on their own terms must be frustrating, but there's also a whole Game Changers season ahead. There's another stage of Challengers coming up. I have no doubt we'll see them again.
There's still a relegation tournament that they're still in, right? So they have a chance to play with the other 2 that are going to knock down into relegations here after the Swiss stage versus the other 3 premier teams that are going to move up. So they still have a chance to come back. And if Shopify Rebellion Gold throughout the years have already proven to us that they are able to continue to fight and come back with a vengeance, and then also prove to all the doubters as they made it to the VCL through Game Changers, that the more practice you put into that, the more you're going to be able to shine. Now they get the experience into the VCL. They have a chance to bounce back into this one. They know what to expect. They know who they played against. They knew what to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if I see them back here into the VCL in Spurs Split 2.
Well, I hope I see you all here tomorrow, same time, same place, because we have more Challengers. We're going to be saying hello to some teams and also goodbye to others as we head towards the end of our season, but looking forward to playoffs on the horizon. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
They're cute.
They're fully on. YFP continuing to try to box out, but Blue Water, they've gotten the work done. It seems like Thief was just a little too late. Still catch 1 from Waterfall, but the damage may be done. That's 1 more, but too much on site. And Thief will clear it out. Hey, just in time, buddy. It's curtains for this 7th round for themselves. So they will. Still a 3v2, and so Dry Swings can do so much. Who has been the best of them so far? Thief is right behind you again! Now he's right in front of you, and the tables have turned one more time for YFP's favor. It may be the last. Zeke spots a shoulder, spots 1 kill in the feed. Now the 1v1. 1 to start many. Blue Water has their work cut out for them, even if Zeke does it here. But Thief has the space, has the spike, has the confidence. Not the shot, though. Zeke, great off angle to hold on to the round and the game. Just because
of that lurk from Thief, they re-rotate back over to B site. And luckily oh my.
No!
Unbelievable.
Oh my!
Well, that's revenge for Thief getting that smoke kill last match.
Unreal reaction. Give YFP that sight right back. Such is the nature of the mirror comp. Such is the nature of the double Tejo. Stellar finally dealt with. This time it's the aftershock that is able to not just space him out, but take away his life.
A noble sacrifice.
Continues to tick, indeed. As YFP can now just re-punch this way more safely. They've been able to go blow for blow, toe-to-toe on the util. And from here, they just need to do the same on the frags. But they can't! And Zeke gets an ace! Off of the micro swings! The rest of the team barreling towards B main. And Mel again, though, on to take first contact. As Bowie is slowed down, but is able to manage the 1 before caught by the Phantom. And that'll open up the entire site for Hakikimori. Ghost blinded out. Noya with the wide swing to save the day. And Alexis with the final frag. 3 stay standing for the bonus. Shopify finds some semblance take. And it is paltry. Ghost, early peak. He's just going to swing it for a second.
2?
Mori continues to just frag and frag.
Oh.
That was so funny to walk into.
Can get these off positions and allow someone like Jawa to truly push up and play for the stall. Another for Noya. It leaves 2 left alive, Demi and Garpa. Separated out. Very little in terms of retake ability.
Already you're seeing Noya feel more comfortable and dynamic with this Spice pick. And she is popping off to open up this 2nd round. 4 on the board for her.